Riley and Jenai were eager to explore the breathtaking landscapes of Iceland. As their car glided on the scenic roads, the young American couple was bursting with excitement. Riley took out an old camera, snapping photos of Jenai, who cheerfully posed. After dropping their luggage at the hotel, they visited stunning geysers and hot springs. At dinner, Jenai was curious about where they could buy film for the antique camera. Riley assured her that he'd brought enough and politely declined her offer to purchase a digital replacement. He wanted to capture moments, imperfections, and all, without any computer algorithms altering them. They continued their tourist journey the next day, visiting an historic church and standing in awe before magnificent waterfalls. But that night, something extraordinary happened. Jenai woke up, peered out of the window, and saw a bright light momentarily illuminating the night sky before disappearing. When morning came, they headed for the hotel's breakfast buffet but found it eerily empty. Puzzled, they ventured into a nearby cafe, only to find the streets deserted. Confused, they double-checked the time. It wasn't an ungodly hour. They wandered into other buildings, but it was as though everyone had vanished. Fear gripped them. Calls to relatives went unanswered. Riley flicked on the TV only to find news channels down. Social media was barren. They returned to their hotel room, where Riley verified that the internet was still functional, but news sites were stuck on yesterday's headlines. With a grim sense of urgency, he checked global security cameras online, empty streets everywhere. Despite feeling trapped in some nightmarish scenario, Riley insisted that they couldn't be the only ones left. They set out again, this time commandeering a car with its window down, to thoroughly search the city and eventually the countryside. The outcome was the same, desolate emptiness. Is this the apocalypse? Jenai wondered aloud. At Riley's prompting, she made another futile attempt to contact her mother. Defeated, they clung to the consolation that they had each other, if nothing else. That night, an exhausted and frustrated Jenai had to remind Riley twice to close the blinds. The next morning, she was in no mood to get up. Riley gave her some space before returning to find her pondering how they'd ever get back home. To lift her spirits, he attempted to make her favorite gingerbread latte. The result was less than perfect, but Jenai smiled in appreciation. Realizing they needed to focus on survival, they raided a nearby grocery store. Jenai absent-mindedly picked up a few items. In contrast, Riley pushed trolleys heaped with supplies. They also located a more spacious car to accommodate their loot. They picked a house that they both liked. While Riley seemed to adjust quickly, Jenai pondered how unsettlingly simple it was to just take someone else's home. They then looted a clothing store. Initially, Jenai hesitated, picking just one or two items. Riley reminded her of their unique circumstances, leading to an impromptu fashion show. They even grabbed some alcohol and spent the night playing Monopoly, drinking, and sharing some light banter. The following morning, amidst a breakfast of salvaged food, Jenai mused, "Do you think we're being tested? Do you believe in God?" Riley retorted, "Do you think this is all part of some divine plan?" They looked at each other, full of questions, yet finding some solace in the uncertain comfort of their love. Even amid the mysterious and terrifying emptiness that enveloped them, they realized that they at least had each other. Two souls bound by love, facing an unfathomable world. Jenai and Riley find themselves in an environment that seems like an idealistic escape from the world, but tensions arise, revealing the contrasts in their perspectives. After swimming and napping, Jenai takes a contemplative walk in the fields while Riley captures her beauty in pictures. Returning to the city, a grocery store mishap, Riley getting hurt while fooling around, causes Jenai to confront him. She fears they can't be reckless when there's no safety net, like doctors or emergency services. Riley dismisses her worries, prompting a heated argument. Later, Riley shows up with a bouquet, promising to be more cautious. Jenai then shares her longing for a special book she left at home, which chronicled her life's milestones, including her love for Riley. He assures her they have everything they need, but she disagrees, expressing a desire to return home. Another outing reveals their running tap water has stopped. Riley casually consumes blueberry yogurt, sparking a fight over limited resources. He suggests they could survive off the land, Jenai dismisses the idea sarcastically. The discord persists unresolved, but the core problem is evident. Jenai seeks stability and comfort, while Riley views life as a journey to savor, risks aside. Their conflict isn't in their actual circumstance, but in their differing perceptions and responses. The pair find it hard to reconcile, caught between embracing the now and fretting over an unpredictable future. On another excursion beyond the city, they reach some hot springs. Riley implores Jenai to sense the world's pulse and confesses his love for Iceland. Then they visit a beach with volcanic rocks, where Riley tries to share a troll tale, but Jenai interrupts, citing a lack of water. Subsequently, they encounter an old plane wreck. Riley takes multiple photos, seeing beauty. Jenai, however, rebukes him, labeling it as lifeless junk and snaps that changing the backdrop won't lift her spirits. Frustrated, Riley queries what he should do, to which Jenai says, "Open your eyes," and departs, leaving him to sleep in the plane. Jenai spends the night in the car, isolated. Come morning, she returns to check on Riley. Upon waking, neither speaks. Jenai offers a drink before they silently head back to the city. Riley spends the rest of the day photographing the city's street art. In an art gallery, Riley comes across an unsettling painting that profoundly spooks him. The eerie eyes in the artwork disturb him so much that he unceremoniously discards the roll of film he's been holding. Simultaneously, Jenai is at home, eyes glued to her laptop screen. She's desperately attempting to reconnect with people online, but without success. Sometime afterward, Jenai opts for a spiritual retreat and visits a church to engage in quiet prayer. Riley, in contrast, goes from shop to shop, meticulously collecting various elements for a creative endeavor he's been planning. While ascending in an elevator, he panics momentarily when the doors shut abruptly, creating a momentary sense of entrapment. Luckily, the elevator doors open almost immediately, averting crisis. When he gets back home and finds no trace of Jenai, he occupies himself by engineering a series of small gadgets. In another setting, Jenai is relishing her time feeding a horse, ecstatic to see a living creature in what feels like ages. The couple soon embarks on a road trip. As Jenai steers the wheel, she listens to archived voicemails, her way of keeping her loved ones' voices alive in her memory. They take a break near some glaciers and even explore the surroundings. Seated together on a glacial formation, Jenai wonders aloud if a divine force has decided to cleanse Earth due to impatience. Riley, however, believes that the future is unpredictable and that their relationship still has a fighting chance. Back in the city, Jenai locates a photo lab, but her enthusiasm wanes when she discovers a flower shop with nothing but wilted blossoms. Riley encourages her to look elsewhere, advocating that they could both use a new backdrop. The couple eventually finds themselves at a cabin near a lake. While Riley is out collecting firewood, he is astonished to stumble upon Nils, a solitary human figure in the wilderness. Without hesitation, the couple offers him their limited supplies. During the conversation, Nils' persistent coughing stands out. Despite attempts to encourage Nils to stick with them, he seems resigned to his grim fate, a notion that greatly frustrates Riley. Later that night, Jenai and Nils share personal stories by the fireside. Nils opens up about his seafaring life and how he's become estranged from his own family. He introduces Jenai to the Welsh term eerie, which describes a longing for a home you can't return to or that never was. In Jenai's view, they've been forsaken by God, whereas Nils contends that life itself lacks inherent meaning. The next day starts with somber news: Nils has passed away in his sleep. As Riley starts to dig a grave for him, Jenai questions the purpose of this act. They argue again, this time about whether they should continue searching for others or focus on their own survival. When they get back to the city, Jenai begins marking deserted houses with duct tape. Riley follows her, insisting that what she's doing is not searching for life, but commemorating death. He implores her to come back with him, to which she retorts that there's no home to go back to. A new quarrel erupts, with Jenai seemingly in search of otherworldly answers, a quest Riley finds futile since they can't change the inevitable. Riley attempts to persuade Jenai that they could still carve out a meaningful existence together, but she confides in him that she's lost sight of what that even entails. At a later time, having successfully constructed a windmill, Riley makes another effort to reach out to Jenai emotionally. He takes her to a riverside and draws a parallel between the flowing water and the glacier they once sat upon. The water, he points out, is the glacier's continuation, much like life itself, always in motion and transformation. The pair share a poignant moment, sealing their understanding with a heartfelt hug and kiss. During a meal together, they divide the last of their potable water. As Jenai is cleaning up, her laptop pings with an incoming email notification. She races to the device, her face glowing with anticipation. When she opens the email, she finds it's just a photograph sent by Riley. The crushing reality that they're alone in the world sinks in, leaving her in tears of despair. The next morning, Riley discovers a large, white envelope bearing his name. After he activates the newly built water pump, he takes a moment to examine the contents of the envelope, which turns out to be developed photographs. Noticing Jenai's disheartened expressions in the images, he becomes uneasy. Filled with a sense of urgency, he drives through the city in search of her. His worst fears are confirmed when he finds Jenai's car parked near a geothermal pool. Approaching the pool, he is shattered to see her lifeless body floating in the water. It appears she took her own life, unable to bear their grim reality any longer. Once his tears subside, he makes the heart-wrenching decision to leave her there. Climbing into his car, he drives off into an uncertain future, pondering the daunting reality of his newfound solitude. Thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Flick Spoilers signing off.